Okay, so on number 1, they just want me to find B. Oops. Helps if I actually have a pen out, huh? They just want me to find BC, so that's the only thing I need to look for. So I have sine of 110 over 14 equals sine of 28 over x. Cross multiply, and I get x sine of 110 equals 14 sine of 28, and then divide by sine of 110, sine of 110, and put that in my calculator, and x is approximately equal to 7 kilometers. And then on number 2, they want me to find AC, which is here. And in order to find AC, the side I know is this side, so that means I need to know this angle. So if I do 180 minus 30 minus 89, I'm going to get 61. So this angle is 61 degrees. So I have sine of 61 over 14 equals sine of 89, ooh, that was ugly, over x. Cross multiply, and I get, let's see, what do I get? X sine of 61 equals 14 sine of 89, divide by sine of 61, and x is approximately going to equal 16 yards. Okay, and then for number 3, it says find angle C, which is this one, so I have everything I need. So I've got, let's see, what do I have? Nathan. I've got a sine of 88 over 26 equals sine of C over 16. Cross multiply, and I get 26 sine of C is going to equal 16 sine of 88, divide by 26, and I get sine of C is going to equal 16 sine of 88 divided by 26. How do you undo sine? Well, you do sine inverse. And C is approximately going to be equal to 38 degrees. Beautiful. Okay, and then on the last one, they want me to find angle B, and I have everything I need to do that with. Sorry. So I have sine of 75 over 28 equals sine of B over 19. Cross multiply, and I get 28 sine of B equals 19 sine of 75, divide by 28. Sine of B is going to equal 19 sine of 75 divided by 28. And again, I don't want sine of B, I just want B, so I'm going to do sine inverse. So B is approximately equal to 41 degrees. Is there any questions on those? Oops, go back up there. Thank you. Okay. And I think Jada and Nathan just came in. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go on. Oops, and Orlando. And we're going to move on to the next thing we're going to learn. So we've done law of sines. You can expect a checkpoint on that tomorrow, law of sines. So be prepared for that checkpoint tomorrow. We're going to move on to law of cosine now. This one's a little harder. I guess it's a little harder because it's a little more complicated equation. For law of cosines, so our essential question is how law of cosines used to solve a triangle. Again, it doesn't have to be a right triangle to use law of cosine or law of sines, although you can use both of them on a right triangle. It's any triangle to use both of these. Here's the pattern is the same. It doesn't matter. It gives you 3 different equations for law of cosines, but it depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for side A, side B, or side C, but the pattern is the same. So if you look at it that way as a pattern, you can see where the A, B's, and C's rotate through, and it kind of is a little easier that way. That way you don't have to actually memorize all 3 of them if you just memorize the pattern of it. So the law of cosine says a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times bc cosine of a. Okay, so really the pattern, I'm going to kind of talk through it if I can verbalize it. So if I'm looking for side A, then angle A will go with my cosine. Okay, if I'm looking for side B, then angle B goes with my cosine. And side C, angle C goes with my cosine. Okay, that's how it is. And then that equals the other 2. So if I have side A, the other 2 are squared and added together. B squared plus C squared. Okay? And then it's always minus 2 times B times C. So times each of those. And then times the cosine of A. And that's the pattern. If you notice it, if it's B squared, then it's A squared plus C squared minus 2AC. If I'm looking for C, it's A squared plus B squared minus 2AB. So the pattern is the same. I'm looking for one side. It's the 2 other sides squared minus 2 times those 2 squareds, the cosine of whichever angle of the side I'm looking for. So if you look at it, the more you use it, the more you'll see like, okay, I understand the pattern now. So you know. In order to use the law of cosines, I have to know one of these two things. Either 2 sides and the included angle, so it has to be the angle in between the 2 sides, or all 3 sides. So I either need to know 2 angles and the side in between them. 2 sides and the angle in between them, or all 3 sides in order to use law of cosines. And that's it. That's what I need to know. So if I don't have those, then I use law of sine. Okay? So here it just says for the first one, I'm just going to find the missing side. So it just wants me to find right here. And notice they didn't label them A, B, or C, so it doesn't matter. The pattern, I can kind of talk you through the pattern. I know that the angle opposite side, so I need to know if I'm looking for this side, I need to know the angle opposite that side that I'm looking for. Have to know that. Okay, so here I go. It would be x squared is going to equal the 2 other sides squared, 11 squared plus 8 squared, minus 2 times those 2 sides, times 11 times 8, times the cosine of the angle opposite the side I'm looking for. So I'm looking for side x, so it would be cosine of 37. So now let's talk about putting this into the calculator. I'm not going to do any math right now. I'm going to just put it all into the calculator at one time. So I'm looking for x. How do I get x to become, I'm looking for x. So how do I get x squared to become x? What do I do to x squared to get it to become x? Anybody? Yeah, square root it. Awesome. So if I square root this side, I have to square root this whole side. Okay? So that means x is going to equal, or it's probably going to be approximately equal to. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and then I'm going to go into Desmos, which I probably, oh, no, I do not have up anymore. So DES, Desmos. And I'm going to talk about putting it into the calculator again. And you know I always use Desmos to do that with. So make you guys small, graphing calculator. So I'm going to put this all in exactly like what I have written down on my paper. So I know I have the square root of 11 squared plus 8 squared. And the nice thing about Desmos is you can see it should look exactly like your paper over there. Minus 2 times 11 times 8 times the cosine of 37, parentheses. Oh, and then since I just opened this, I better make sure that I'm in degrees. Degrees, there we go. And there's my answer, 6.6663, so 6.7. Okay, so notice I didn't actually figure out anything. I didn't do any calculations until I put it into the calculator. Is that okay? Sure. And if you look at this here, and look what you have written on your paper, or when I go back, it looks exactly the same. And that's how it should look. It should look the same, just to make sure that you're putting it into the calculator correctly. Hope that helps a little bit. So let's go back to here. So that should be 6.7. Okay. Awesome, you guys. So let's go to the next page. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to use the law of cosine to solve a whole bunch of problems. Some of them you'll do, some of them I'll do. We'll just work that way. So this one, oops. Says given A equals 8, B equals 8 feet, B equals 19 feet, and C equals 14 feet. Find the measure of angle C. So it looks like we have a triangle with all sides. So I have A, B, and C, right? So A is 8 feet, B is 19 feet, and C is 14 feet. And I want to find this angle. Okay? So law of cosines starts with the side opposite that angle, which happens to be 14, is going to be on the outside. So this is 14 squared equals the other two sides, 8 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times those two sides times 8 times 19 times the cosine of C. Now on this one's not as easy to figure out. Like if I'm finding an angle, it's pretty easy, right? You saw on the last one, I just take the square root, right, of the whole thing and put it into my calculator. This one I actually have to do some calculations before I can use the cosine and that. So I have to do part of the calculation. So I'm going to get my calculator out. And let's see, 14 squared is 196 equals 64 plus 19 times 19, I don't know that one, 361 minus 2 times 8 times 19 is 304 cosine of C. Okay, is everyone okay so far? All right, now I'm going to subtract 64, and I'm going to subtract 361. Okay, so I've got 196 minus 64 minus 361 is negative 229 equals negative 304 cosine of C. Questions? Are we okay? Okay, I want to get cosine of C alone, right? So I'm going to divide by negative 304 on both sides. Running out of room. Oh, wrong thing. So I get cosine of C is going to equal 229 over 304. I'm not even going to attempt to simplify that. So I don't want cosine of C, I want C. So that means I'm going to do cosine inverse, right? So I get C is going to equal cosine inverse of 229 divided by 304. And that means C is approximately going to be equal to cosine inverse of 229 divided by 304. 41.1 degrees. Done. Okay, questions? Honestly, the hardest thing about this one is actually making sure I get the numbers plugged into the right part. Okay? So let's see what the next one says. The next one says, find the perimeter of the triangle below. So can someone tell me what it means to find the perimeter? What does perimeter mean? Or more than one person? Anybody? What does it mean to find a perimeter?
Add up all the sides?
Add up all the sides. That means I need to know all the sides, right? So I'm missing this side. So I have to find this side of my triangle. So I'm missing a side, which is easier to find, right? So I've got x squared is going to equal the two other sides, which is 9.4. Sorry, guys, I'm having a hard time seeing today. 9.4 squared plus 6.5 squared minus 2 times the two sides, 9.4 times 6.5 times the cosine of 131. And I want x instead of x squared. So I'm going to take the square root of it, right? It's a long one. So x is approximately going to be equal to, and I'm going to put that whole thing into my calculator. So I get 9.4 squared. Oops, I forgot the square root. Let's try that again. Square root of 9.4 squared plus 6.5 squared minus 2 times 9.4 times 6.5 times the cosine of 131. 131. So that should be 14.5. And then find the perimeter, I do 14.5. So the perimeter is going to equal 14.5 plus 9.4 plus 6.5. So 14.5 plus 9.4 plus 6.5 equals 30.4. Okay, questions? Okay, so it says it wants me to find the smallest angle, and the smallest angle is across from the smallest side. So since 5 is my smallest side, means I want to find this angle here. So that means I'm going to have 5 squared. and that's going to equal my other two sides squared, 8 squared plus 9 squared, minus 2 times 8 times 9 times the cosine of, let's just call it x, cosine of x. So I've got 25 equals 64 plus 81 minus 142 maybe? It's 8 times 9 times 2, 144. Subtract 64, subtract 81. So 25 minus 65, oops. 25 minus 64 minus 81, oops, and that should be 64. There we go. Minus 120 equals negative 144 cosine of x, x, divide by negative 144. Cosine inverse. So x is going to approximately be equal to cosine inverse 120 divided by 144, 33.6 degrees. Okay? Now I want you guys to try it. So on number 5, it says, what does it say? To approximate the length of a lake, a surveyor starts at one end of the lake and walks 245 yards. He then turns 110 degrees and walks 270 yards until he arrives at the other end of the lake. Approximately how long is the lake? So they want you to find x. So I want you to go ahead and try this. So I've got, let's see, what do I have? X squared is going to equal 270 squared plus 245 squared minus 2 times 270 times 245 times the cosine of 70. Oh, maybe that's why. Good, Jacqueline. So I don't want x squared. I want x, so I'm going to take the square root of that. So I get x is approximately equal to 296.1 yards. So please make sure if there's a measurement on here that you're answering, your answers have that measurement on there. So this is yards. So my answer needs to have yards on there also. Okay. Is there any questions on that? Just wanted to ask, make sure that you're not using, I know it said 110 in the story problem, but in the triangle it made a 70-degree angle because, how did it say it? So I was walking and I made a 110-degree turn. So if I'm walking this way, right, I'm walking, and then I make a 110-degree turn here. This right here is the angle I'm going to use, not the 110-degree turn. So if some of you used 110 degrees in your formula here, that would give you the wrong answer. So I don't know if that was part of the problem, if that's why some of you guys didn't quite get the right answer, is because you used 110 instead of 70. I'm not sure, but it would be 70 there. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the next one. And let's see if you can do this one. it says, after a hurricane, the small tree in my neighbor's yard was leaning. To keep it from falling, we nailed a 6-foot strap to the ground 4 feet from the base of the tree. We attached the strap to the tree 3.5 feet above the ground. Okay, how far from the vertical was the tree leaning? So it's asking kind of a strange question. I need to find this angle. I need to find theta, okay? But it's asking how far from vertical. So if I was straight up, which is 90 degrees, right? How far off that 90 degrees is it leaning? That's what it's asking. So you have to find out what this angle is, this theta angle is, and then subtract 90 from it, and that's what your real answer is, okay? So I want you to go ahead and go. And then we might as well go ahead and do number 7 also, which is to find the measure of angle N. So go ahead and, okay, here we go, guys. So I need to find that angle theta. So I'm gonna cheat off my notes so I don't have to do the figuring again. Sorry, you guys. So I've got, I know. Let's see. What do I have? 6 squared is going to equal 3.5 squared plus 4 squared, right? So the two sides that contain the angle, minus 2 times those two sides, so 3.5 times 4 times cosine of theta. So then I did 36 equals 12.25 plus 16 minus 28 cosine of theta. So subtract 12.25 and 16. And I get 7.75 equals negative 28 cosine of theta. Divide by negative 28. And I get cosine of theta equals negative 775 divided by 28. And so cosine inverse. Cosine inverse. And I get theta is approximately equal to 106.1 degrees. But it actually asks how far off vertical it is. So I'm going to do 106.1 minus 90 degrees and get 16.1 degrees off vertical. Vertical. Okay? Awesome. And then the last one, again, I'm missing all the sides, so I have to do the long one. So I've got, I want to find this angle. If I find this angle, I can find angle N by subtracting from 180, right? Because a line measures, because a line measures 180 degrees. So I've got, let me slide this up, 86, oh, that's not an 86. Let's try that again. Let's see, 86 squared equals 48 squared plus 44 squared minus 2 times 48 times 44 times the cosine of x. And I subtracted 40. Instead of figuring out what it was, I just did 48 squared and subtract 44 squared, and I put it into my calculator that way, sorry. And I got 3156. 3156. And that equals negative 4224 cosine of x. Divide by negative 4224. And I get cosine of x is going to equal 3156 over 4224. And I don't want cosine of x, I just want x. So cosine inverse cosine inverse, and x is approximately equal to 138.3 degrees. And then to find a measure of angle n is going to equal 180 minus 138.3, which is going to be 41.7 degrees. Anybody have any questions? Or did I do anything wrong? It's entirely possible I did something wrong. But as long as you get the pattern done, then it's just order of operations on the rest of it. Okay? So that's the end of our notes for today. So you're going to work on doing a little bit of homework in Delta Math. And then when you're done,